lost one of his greatest in Pele, unfortunately. I just wonder, I mean, I'm a lot older than you, probably have memories, but do you have any memories that maybe your dad might have shared about him in any way?
My only memories are pretty video footage as a young boy, and I grew up, I was saying on a world scale, Maradona was my hero growing up because I was able to watch him more, but it was always a matter of fact almost that Maradona and Pele had been the greatest. So I watched videos, a huge respect for him as a player and as a person, as I think all the responses since yesterday when we all found out the news have shown it was a great man as well as a great player, incredible icon and one of the greatest without a doubt. So sad day for football.
Did you ever meet him through your uncle or anything?
No, I never met him.
No. On to the game itself. Obviously, disappointment following the defeat on Boxing Day. How's the mood been since then? Have you had to lift the players at all? Have you seen a response in training?
Well, it's the hardest way to lose a game. I think one that you believe you deserve to win. We played a pretty good game. I felt that at the time, and I felt it more watching the game back. We were very good off the ball, particularly in the first half. Made it very difficult for Wolves to create anything against us, and we had our chances to be winning the game. So it's a cruel way to lose a game. So I have to feel for the players in that sense because they gave everything. But we have to bounce back. That's what football's all about. They don't come tougher than what we've got in front of us. But at the same time, we can't forget the good things we did in the game and go with a sense of belief and pride and confidence.
So do you remind them of that this week, about the positive aspects?
Yeah, for sure. And they have to feel that. And it's as I say, sometimes a goal at the end of a game like that can change the whole rhetoric or the feeling after a game. That's very normal. So our job is to see the football side of it very clearly. And as I say, I think the players did everything we wanted against Wolves, barring scoring goals which would have put us in a more comfortable position and be more clinical. We know that that's been a problem recently. And also allowing a counter-attack in the last minute of the game, a transition.
You touched on the fans' reaction after the game, and obviously they were reacting during that stoppage time period when there were a lot of passes exchanged between the back line. This is where you really need the fans on side, isn't it? They need to stick with you. Do you feel you still have their backing to the hilt?
Yeah, I think it's normal that fans are disappointed, as we all are, after that result and the nature of it in the last minute. And I think the moments towards the end of the game, you see it very, very often in football. I saw it in a lot of World Cup games where teams are trying to find a way to break a team down that are just sitting back, comfortable with what they've got, as Wolves were. And you try to make passes to find the right angles. And maybe we got it wrong slightly in that moment, but not to a massive degree. The transition was a different thing. But yeah, we understand from last year, from the moment I came in, how strong the club was when we were very positive, very together. And so, it's, as I always say, it's a two-way thing. We have to perform. I believe we did against Wolves. And then the crowd will back us, and that makes us a strong unit.
No easy games in the Premier League, as everyone tells us, but probably none more difficult than going to Manchester City. How do you approach this type of the game when you probably know that they're going to dominate possession on the ball?
Yeah, you have to understand how the game may look, work in that way in terms of our preparation. And give everything and be ready to work, to remain organised and when you have to be, particularly defensively, because they've got such attacking strengths, and also have a belief that we can go there and impose ourselves on them in our own way. So it's what it is. It's a tough game, but these are the challenges that the Premier League gives you for players and for a coach.
I'm sure you make plans for the opposition every week, but can you make any particular plans to nullify Erling Haaland? It's a difficult task.
Well, yeah, you have to do all you can. It's a very, very difficult task because of his, qualities and his power, and we're all seeing it. So there's nothing but respect there when you watch it from afar. When you go against him, you have to try and not give him the spaces that he wants. It's as simple as that. We'll have to do our best to do that, and of course, in our prep, we'll do that. But with a player of that talent, of course, at any moment, and they can hurt you in their own way.
You've already touched on this as well. Goals have been an issue for the team. It's only 12 in the 16 games. Is Dominic Calvert-Lewin closer to starting? Is he in the squad?
He's in the squad.
Weekend? Yeah.
Yeah.
But too early to say whether
We'll see.
We'll begin. More likely Tuesday.
We will see. No, we'll see.
Is that an area of the pitch that becomes a real priority for you in the transfer window? Striker.
We've said this. I've said this. Sorry, in recent weeks, and it's an area that we've gone into a season where we lost Richarlison, and we haven't really had Dominic for barring a few games. And it is when he got to his peak fitness as such. I think you saw what he could do against Crystal Palace, and other than that, we haven't had him and not for the want of trying. It's injury, so it's understandable when you lose that firepower. Then it might not be easy to replace in terms of pure goals and output. So having Dominic back in the fold is a great thing for us, because players who can make the difference at the top end of the pitch like that mean points, and it's as simple as that at times. So we'll look and see what we can do in the January window to maybe also not just talk specifically about Dominic and number 9, but what options do we have to start a game, to change a game, to bring on from the bench. We have to try and look that way, but we have to look at it within our own parameters, and that's where we'll look at January.
Have you identified any players in particular?
Yeah, of course, we're looking at lots of players.
So hopefully January will see a positive move.
Yeah.
Just elsewhere in the squad, Connor Cody available again. Was he a real miss against Wolves, would you say?
Yes, because I think we played well against Wolves. That their threat was probably the goals that they scored. I think they won over half chance. But in terms of our defending and our low build and our build at the back of the pitch, we did very well with Yerry Mina and Taki for a bulk of the game as centre backs. But you'll always miss Connor because of his input in terms of personality, quality on the pitch. So it's great to have him back.
Is Yerry Mina fit?
We're going to find out today. He's training today. He had some cramp in the game and a bit more of a sensation around his hamstring, very low level. So we'll train today and then we'll make a call.
And are there any other concerns or issues for you in the squad ahead of?
We've got a few people that are slightly unwell. You might be able to hear that I'm a little bit like that myself. So we've got a few checks on that.
Wow. Okay. Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Alan. We'll go to Richard at Premier League Production.
Frank, it goes without saying the quality that Manchester City have. They prove it week in, week out. As a manager, give us an idea of how difficult they are to prepare for, given we've seen the last week they can effectively field 2 different starting 11s and still take on it and beat the best in the Premier League.
Yeah, they're difficult because of pure quality level, and I say that in terms of players and coach. We know that they've got possibly the greatest coach in the world for what he does and the style of play that he's brought to the team and to this league. Incredible amount of talent and backup in their squad. And from my being a year at City, I've got complete respect for that because I know how long and thought out that process has been to build what they've got now. It's, those things take time. So as a coach, I think it's a great challenge. I've gone up against them a lot myself as a Chelsea manager previously, and now as an Everton manager, we made a good fist of it at Goodison last year. Very unfortunate, as we know, to not get something out of the game. But they are a huge challenge. You can't underplay it. But we also have to, as I said before, have pride about what we are and understand if we get our game nailed on in terms of how we prepare and how we work during the game, then of course we have a chance. It's football.
On Erling Haaland, he's been prolific. He's breaking records week in, week out. What is it that's enabled him to adapt so quickly to the Premier League? Because you've played with world-class players in your time at Chelsea that took time to adapt to it, and yet he seems to have had a seamless transition.
Because he's an amazing player, and I think the ultimate top level of player generally can do that, can come to whatever league, especially when he possesses everything he does. I've got huge respect. I've coached against him in a pre-season game when he was at Salzburg and was in sort of my eyes wide open at this young boy at the time. I think he just signed for Salzburg, and it was clear in our pre-match preparation what this boy was already. Tried to sign him at Chelsea, wasn't to be, and it was clear what he's going to become, and and fair play to him, because I think, I know we're going up against him tomorrow, but I respect individuals that are at the top of their game. We watched the World Cup with people like Messi and Mbappe in that final, and it was, it's what football's all about, and Haaland's put himself into that bracket at a very young age.
And just finally from me, going back to Pele, you've talked about your thoughts on him as a boy growing up. As a footballer, what was his impact on the game globally? Because he seems to have a reach that very few others have had.
Oh, yeah, it's not easy for me to say. I wasn't around in that period of that era. The game, I think, is probably growing at a much faster rate now with, You know, you can imagine what Pele would have been in the modern day. I think we see it with some individuals, but in terms of his name and standing, I was a young boy growing up in Essex who, you know, was watching this Brazilian player and hearing stories of 1,000 goals plus and watching these incredible goals in World Cup. So from, you know, the reach of his name in the game was obviously huge, and it stayed. And obviously, with great players to that level, I think it just gets bigger with age. And maybe now we've lost him, unfortunately, that name will continue forevermore because of his impact he had on the game, and that's just the standing of the man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Richard. We'll go to Mike at Radio Merseyside.
Hi Frank, hopefully Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be able to return in the coming matches, and that will be a positive, and hopefully be able to bring in some forwards during the transfer window. But the goals return from the players you have now that are playing most of the time, that needs to improve as well, and they have to take responsibility. What can you do to sort of kind of improve that? And I know working training wise it's different to the match circumstances, but that's all you can go with.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. We work a lot on finishing. I think some coaches maybe work to the last part of the pitch and then leave it to players at a high level. I think you can probably do that sometimes, and players at that point it's sometimes instinctive and they create things. We work a lot on the final third in terms of the areas we want to get into and when we want to finish. And you repeat and you hope that transfers into games. And at this point it hasn't quite enough for us, because the games are very fresh in my mind of where they would have looked different with finishing our chances. Wolves was a clear one for us. But you just have to keep working. And sometimes with developing players or players, you also have to give some leeway into the fact that people want to do the right thing, want to get in the right position and want to score goals. So there's the balance of that, plus what do we need to do? We need to get Dominic fit, because his record says that he scores goals regularly for this club, and look at who else we can bring in to help the players, to encourage the competition, that this is a pretty ruthless job we're working in, and we need to score goals to get the results we want.
Dwight McNeil is one of those players that fits into that category that you'd be looking for more goals from him. Is he struggling a little bit confidence-wise in games? I know he's been in and out of the team.
No, I think Dwight coming in, I think you can forget Dwight's age because he played so regularly for Burnley for quite a few years. You forget that he's a young man still, and I think a bit of transition for a player like him moving to a new club is important to have a feeling for that. I think he's played a lot of minutes considering he's just come in. He scored a couple of goals. He'll want more than that. I want more than that from him, but that is a bit of a process with Dwight. In terms of confidence, he knows he has my complete confidence, and the staff's and his teammates, because we see his quality. And for me, it's just keep working, and more output will come in his game because of the level of quality he has.
You touched on it briefly before, but Conor Cody being back available again, and not just specifically for the Manchester City game, how much of a boost can that be? Because you get the feeling at times in matches where the results haven't been going your way recently, that occasionally the players are just lacking a bit of self-belief, and I think he has that capacity, doesn't he, to drive
Sure.
players.
Things like that, I think sometimes a personality in sport, in moments, are quite natural things. They're not easy to change or teach, and Conor has it in abundance, and that rubs off on others around him. So without a doubt, and I think it's only, we've lost in the week before with the break, we lost 2 league games. Before that, our defensive record was one of the best in the league. You could feel a solidity about the team. We have to remember that feeling, and Conor was a big part of that. So to have him back in is great.